So today we are going on a random road trip to Machakos. If you've ever been to Machakos, you know there's some lovely hills surrounding the town. So I'm going to branch off Mombasa Road before Makutano Junction and then head up to Moa Hills. As you can see on my map, I'll be just going around the hills. So what I usually do is I force Google Map to follow a path that I need. Just put pins in places that I know I have to pass through so that Google Maps can give me a route that goes there instead of just putting one destination. So I'll go through Mitisaba Forest, then go around Kimakimwe. That is the hill right next to Machakos town. I'll head to Mwani River. So there is a rocky place in Mwani River. Then I'll go up Kimakimwe and down into Machakos town. After that I'll just head back home. So let's start the trip. First off, I made sure I had enough fuel for the trip, so I filled up in the next petrol station and then hit the road. I hadn't taken breakfast, so I had a quick stop for a coffee and a snack. I went past the river and I was greeted by this amazing view. It was a cloudy morning, but the sun shining through the heavy clouds made all the difference. And another quick stop next to the cement factory in Lukenya to enjoy the views and the serenity of leaving the city. After a few minutes, I made it to my official starting point for this road trip. That is the junction that turns off Mombasa Road towards Moa Hills. I took a few videos, took a few photos before I started my trip up. You should be able to see Nairobi and its surroundings from this point, but the cloudy day had to ruin it for everybody. We get our first glimpse of Machakos and how much further we still have to go to complete our road trip. Machakos looks amazing with all the greenery during the rainy season. The hill in the distance is called Kimakimwe, and that is the last hill we have to go up before we complete our road trip. So I branched off to the right at Kaloleni Market towards the Gravity Hill at Kitoloni. This is where it's said to have inverted gravity, so you can see the guy signaling me to put the car in neutral and let it roll uphill. But what I saw kind of confirmed that this is just an optical illusion based on the landscape surrounding the area. So I went up to the hill on the left and took a look. As you can see from up here, I used the trees as a reference point. So what you'll find out is the road is either completely flat or sloping slightly in the opposite direction, creating an illusion of an inverse gravity for anyone on the road. I wasn't too interested by this, so I spent as little time there as possible and continued with my road trip. It was getting misty and cold, so I stopped here for a minute to enjoy the view of the misty road and put on some warm clothes. I made it to the edge of the forest and I was really surprised. It's hard to imagine that such a huge forest exists in Machakos, given how dry it gets in some seasons. I turned right at the Mitisaba junction, then turned off the tarmac a few meters ahead. The microclimate in this forest was just completely different from what you would get anywhere else in Machakos. Yeah, I loved it here. This place was amazing. A few minutes of driving and I was out of the forest, so I proceeded along to complete the first set of hills in my journey. I took the path to the right as suggested by Google Maps, and at this point I could clearly see Machakos town and the hill that we were going to finish our road trip on. I also realized that this road was taking us down to the town earlier and we hadn't completed our journey through the hills. So I turned around and made sure I took a road that took me to the end of the hills. I finally got to the end of the hills and I took this narrow winding road down to Machakos town. I joined the highway next to Machakos Girls High School. This is the highway that heads to Kitui. I then exited the highway a few hundred meters ahead so that I could go around the hill on the right, that is Kimakimwe Hill. This road exits on the other side to the Machakos Wote Road next to Mwanya River. I soon made it to the rocky section of Mwanya River, so I stopped for a few minutes to explore the place. This is an awesome place to just chill and picnic and walk around the rocks. It's accessible by any car, so you can drive down the Machakos Wote Road and park by the road and walk to this place. I walked around the rocks and relaxed here for a few minutes before embarking on the last leg of our adventure, and that was going up Kimakimwe. It was now time to leave, and as you can see, the Machakos Wote Road isn't that far from the rocky place. I branched off to the right and headed to Machakos town before branching off at Century Park as I started to go up the last hill of today's adventure. I followed the windy roads all the way up until I got to a place where there was no more road and I couldn't proceed. As you can see, whoever was creating this road just gave up on this giant rock. Yeah, I'm sure if I had someone else on this trip, I could possibly attempt to cross, because this road continues on the other side. But the risk of slipping off the hill and just rolling all the way down was too high, so I turned back and I chose to pick another way up to the hill. I took a different path at a junction up ahead, and that was the road that took me all the way up to the top of the hill. I soon reached the top of the hill and passed by a school with a really funny name. It was called I Love You Secondary School. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the name, but that was funny. And that was it for our trip. This is the top of the Kimakimo Hill, so a quick victory stop before we start descending down. On the way down, I wasn't sure I was on the right path because I could only see motorbikes and people coming up the hill. I wasn't sure if this road was passable by a car, but I was determined to find out. I went down this really steep incline, and after a while I joined up with a better road that was smooth all the way down to Machakos town. I stopped here to get the last view of the city from above, and at this point you could also see the hills we had driven over, just on the other side of the city. I exited near Machakos University, then I did one lap around Machakos town before I started my journey back home. And here we are. We finally made a full circuit around Machakos. So this is the junction where we started our trip up to the hills. And now it's time to head back home. That's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you around.